here is kind of our overview of what we're going to go. We're going to go ahead and start with an overview from our CEO about what Semco Michigan Works is. Then we'll kind of do a brief overview of our business services, and then we'll dive into the nitty-gritty of going pro. So I am going to go ahead and pass it over to Gregory Petoniak, who is our CEO.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Semco Going Pro Talent Fund webinar today. We're pleased to have you join us. So I'm just going to spend 2 or 3 minutes here building our credibility as an organization if you haven't worked with us before. So Semco Michigan Works is a 501c3 nonprofit established in 1996. We are created and led by your community and business leadership, and that would be in the region of Wayne County, and Monroe County is our geographic region. We are a formal partnership of Monroe and Wayne counties, the Conference of Western Wayne, the Downriver Community Conference, and the Conference of Eastern Wayne. That 5-member board then appoints the Workforce Development Board, which is a majority of private sector members. That's very intentional to help inform us about what your needs are as an employer and to understand what credentials are important to our local industries and employers. We operate 5 Michigan Works American Job Centers throughout the region. You can check out those locations at our website, and you're free to walk into any of those centers at any time and discuss the services we provide. And that is also, of course, where our job seekers will pursue services from us. I'm particularly proud of the fact that we choose to be nationally accredited by a National Council on Accreditation 3 times, once every 3 years. I apologize. And this is our attempt to maintain constant improvement within the organization. We are committed to staying on top of the latest administrative and business practices. And for 18 years, we have been nationally accredited. We also conduct every 3 years a strategic planning process involving our boards, our staff, our partners in the community at large. And here you can see our mission statement, which is to provide innovative leadership to create inclusive, lifelong talent and career development system that is responsive to labor market and industry demands. And our vision is that through our leadership, there is a robust career and talent pipeline sustained by public and private partners driving a resilient and vital and competitive economy. You certainly are one of our primary customers. We learn from you what is in demand in terms of occupations and credentials, and we want to help you fulfill your talent needs. And so you are a primary customer of ours. Those who are seeking jobs are also a primary customer. Not only do we help them obtain employment, we provide them with career guidance and potentially even funding for training and upskilling. And then, of course, incumbent workers are important to both of us, right? And Going Pro Talent Fund is a perfect example of one of our programs that can help with your efforts to upskill your incumbent workers. Finally, I wanted to end by saying that we are not a static organization. We try to maintain constant awareness of what is going on in the economy and change accordingly. We have a greater commitment now than ever to career pathway awareness for youth and adults. And I know for some of you that it's probably very important that they be aware of your career opportunities. And for example, in about 10 days, we are going to be conducting the annual Manufacturing Day with 37 employers involved in hosting youth at their site to learn more about jobs and careers in manufacturing. We limit our training funding to achieving only high credentialed, high demand occupations credentials. We do not want to waste the funds we have by training somebody to achieve a credential that is not going to lead to employment or a career. And finally, we have a greater commitment than ever to develop work-based learning options. Of course, the most common form of work-based learning is registered apprenticeships. But we have other programs too. And again, Going Pro Talent Fund is an excellent program for work-based learning for workers. So thank you for joining us today. I am going to turn it over to Andrea. Are you running the next, or is it Trevor?
Trevor, yep.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. It's a Trevor Verrier, to share with you our business services. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. As Greg said, my name is Trevor Verrier. I am the Workforce Business Services Associate Program Manager. And before we dive into Going Pro today, I just want to give you a brief overview of our other business services that we have to offer you as an employer. And if any of this interests you in any way, please make sure you fill out that post session survey where you can indicate if you're interested in any services, and we will follow up with you more and give you more details. So let's start off by talking about how we can help you with your open positions. So if you're looking to post a position to recruit some people, we can help you with your labor market research, including wage data. So if you have a position and you're looking to find out what is a competitive wage for that position in your area, we can help you find that information. We can then also help you draft job descriptions for those open positions and get them posted on the Pure Michigan Talent Connect, which is a statewide job board that all the other Michigan Works agencies use around the state, connecting you to a vast network of job seekers. We then would promote those jobs within our social medias and on our platforms. We would distribute those postings to our business services and job seeker staff and our other networks, such as chambers of commerce and organizations like that, to give you the widest net to find the best possible candidates for your open jobs. We can also help you pre-screen applicants if that's something that you're interested in. We know job searching and looking through resumes can be very time-consuming. We also have space at all of our American job centers for you, the employer, at no cost to host in-person job fairs. We can also help you host a virtual job fair as well. Those spaces can also be used for interviews and onboarding if you don't have that capacity at your facility. We also have access to no-cost fidelity bonding for those potential job candidates that you're looking into who might be justice involved. We also can help you with your talent development and retention. So we can help you with one of our main programs for if you're bringing on new hires is our on-the-job training. So if your candidate qualifies for the on-the-job training program, that would be a program that reimburses you, the employer, up to a certain amount for those wages of that employee kind of coming on, getting up to speed, learning the job. And that is something that your business services rep can go over with you later if you're interested in that. We also can assist with providing you help in expanding USDL registered apprenticeship opportunities at your business or training those apprentices that you already have that are USDL registered. We have various funds for apprenticeship. Apprenticeship is a bipartisan issue. There's usually lots of support. There's often different training funds and initiatives coming out throughout the year with dollars attached to either help expand apprenticeships, so starting apprenticeship programs at your place of business, or helping you to train your current apprentices. And just a quick plug for apprenticeship. I know a lot of people think apprenticeship, skilled trades. Apprenticeship is not just for the skilled trades. So if you're thinking, how can I work apprenticeship maybe into your type of business, please reach out and we can have that discussion with you. We also have our business resource network. That is where a job coach comes into your place of business and may work with those employees who are experiencing barriers to employment with you. So they may be encountering trouble getting to the job on time, or maybe they are struggling to find childcare for their children to let them come to work. These are things that the Business Resource Network coach can help with, finding resources to help your employees not have to worry about trying if their car is going to make it to work, or if they can find someone to watch their kids. With that, again, if any of those services are interesting to you, please make sure you fill out that post-session survey. That way we know how to reach out to you and let you know more. With that, I will turn it back over to Andrea and Linda.
Thank you, Trevor. Okay, so now that we had kind of an idea of who we are as an organization, let's kind of dive into Going Pro and kind of a high-level overview of what this program is. So really, what this program is a competitive award from the state of Michigan designed to assist you as an employer with training, developing, and retaining employees. So really, it is at its core designed to help Michigan employers have the skills they need to compete and grow, and for our individuals in the state to have the skills they need for in-demand jobs. It is available to private sector employers in Michigan. It is a competitive grant, so there is a scoring rubric, which we will go over later, but basically for various trainings and stuff, it's out of 50 points, and it's kind of ranked that way. And then there is an application window. So you have to apply within the application window. There are usually 2 cycles. We are talking about cycle 1 here on this presentation. And the application for cycle 1 tentatively will open October 1st and close on October 17th at 5 p.m. And that 5 p.m. is a very hard deadline on October 17th. So really, we recommend that you have everything sorted, ready to go by October 16th. That way you do not have to stress on the final day. I will kind of put an asterisk on that October 1st. That is a tentative date this year. As you may be aware, there is still not yet a state budget for the state of Michigan. And without a state budget, there's no, guarantee that the application will open on October 1st. So if there is a delay in the opening, we will definitely communicate that to you. But currently our guidance has been told to plan for October 1st and continue on that way. One last thing I want to kind of point out, the little blue asterisk there, this is just going to indicate something that may be new this year or kind of clarified in this year's presentation. So if you see that, we will try to highlight that and make sure that you can get the information of what's changed versus 25 if you have done the award previously. So this is kind of the state strategy for Going Pro. It's designed to create those partnerships with businesses to develop training models that adapt in real time with your changing demands. The economy, especially post-COVID, is very volatile. Like things change. There were supply chain issues, so a lot of people brought different things in-house. So this kind of training plan is designed to adapt with you as you face those changes. For Going Pro, all training must be completed within 1 year from the date of the award. So for cycle 1, we would be looking at the full calendar year of 26, January 1 through December 31st of 26. And that training must lead to a credential for a skill that is transferable and recognized by industry. So as mentioned, we want to focus on those high wage, high in demand jobs. Employers who request funding must actively participate in the development of the training plan and commit to retaining individuals at the completion of training. As mentioned, this is something that's going to adapt and change with you as an employer, so we want to make sure that you are involved. We here at SEMCA do not know the ins and outs of your business, so we won't be able to tell you what training you need. You need to tell us what training you need. And then if new jobs are created as a result of these training, we just ask that you work with us, your local Michigan Works agency. And then if you are hiring, you are encouraged to look at some of our targeted populations for hiring. And those are going to be your veterans, military reservists, older workers, justice-involved citizens, individuals with disabilities, public assistant recipients. And we have plenty of resources available to help you kind of locate and navigate some traditionally underserved populations. So as an employer who is eligible, it's really kind of any non-government private sector employer. And this can be not-for-profit or for-profit. Really, if you are non-governmental, there's probably a good chance that you will be eligible. You must have a need for skill enhancement, and that can include apprenticeship programs, advanced tax programs, and this can be for current employees or new employees. Kind of defined this year, this has always been a Michigan grant for Michigan workers, but this year they have really kind of specified that you must have a physical location in Michigan where your work is conducted. So they just want to make sure that you are here in the state. You need to be in compliance with all federal and state tax obligations. This will be verified. If there is an outstanding obligation, it does not necessarily prevent you from receiving an award. It's just something that will have to be kind of sorted before you receive those funds, whether it's setting up a payment plan, something like that, something that'll just make sure that you're labeled as current with that. You must be willing to participate under the project's eligibility parameters and guidelines. There is an agreement, if you are awarded, that we will ask you to sign that kind of outlines your responsibilities, our responsibilities, and the goals of the program. And then those public institutions or entities that are kind of the quasi-public private entities are not eligible. So it kind of spells them out here, but you're looking at like your road commissions, your municipality-owned utilities, things like that. As for employees, we kind of have two definitions for them. You have your current employees, which are your individuals on your payroll currently at the time of application, and anyone who's been previously employed by you. And then you have your new hires, and this is going to be anyone hired during the award, so anytime during 26 or 30 days prior to the award. So that kind of goes back for cycle 1 to about December 1st. So anyone you hire December 1st going forward would be counted as a new employee. They must be permanent full-time employees, and full-time is 32 hours or more. And they need to work in Michigan, and you need to pay all applicable taxes to the state of Michigan. So it doesn't matter where necessarily they live. So if you have individuals from Ohio who commute into Michigan, especially relevant in our kind of southeastern location here, as long as the taxes are being paid to the state of Michigan, they are eligible. They must be 18 years of age or older, legally authorized to work in the U.S. And as mentioned, they must be permanent full-time employees. So part-time or seasonal employees are not eligible for funding. So we kind of got a very brief overview of what the program is. So I'm going to pause for questions if anyone has any so far.
None in the chat, Linda.
Perfect. I'm not seeing any hands up or anything. So we're going to continue on. Definitely drop them in the chat if you think of something else. So when we talk about training, here's kind of what we mean. As mentioned, this will be short-term training to meet your documented current needs of you, the employer. Single training should not exceed 6 months. So as mentioned, short-term training, something that's like maybe a 4-week, seminar type thing. Anything that is like a college course. So maybe you're providing someone to get their bachelor's degree. Each individual semester would be considered a training undergoing pro, so it would be under that 6 months. Classroom training and apprenticeship training must conclude within 1 year from the date of award. And that's when I mention apprenticeship training, I don't mean their entire apprenticeship program. As you may be aware, apprenticeships can range from 1 year to 4 years, but any training that we're covering undergoing pro must conclude within that 1 year. And then if you do have new employee on the job training, which we will cover what that is in a little bit, there is a 90-day post-training retention period that must also be completed within the 1 year of the award. So basically, after you train your employees, there is a retention period. And so we kind of need to calculate the 3 months, 90-day thing in your year of your award. Who you can go to for training is kind of basically anyone. Definitely we have our community colleges and universities. There's plenty of private training partners. If you have a USDOL registered apprenticeship, you have your joint apprenticeship training centers. Basically anyone who is able to provide the training that you need. The preference is to have training occur in the state of Michigan, But if you need to go out of state, maybe you cannot find that training available in the state of Michigan, that is allowable. You just need to have that documented and provide that rationale to us. You as an employer are not eligible to be a training provider unless you are providing on-the-job training. So you as a training provider are not eligible to be a classroom kind of training provider. And so when we look at that, this is kind of what we mean by that classroom customized training. This can be for either your current or new employees, doesn't really matter. It should lead to that credential that we mentioned, which kind of allows that individual to retain their employment, or if they are separated, to gain employment kind of shorter time frame than their peers. As mentioned, this should be conducted by a third party, so you as the employer cannot do this training. But it can take place either at a training provider site, or the training provider can come into your facility and provide that training as well. With the advent of kind of online learning, that is acceptable to do something online, but do note that it must be something that is instructor led. So something where there is a live instructor component is required. And then we have kind of a guideline of what is eligible and ineligible. This is not an exhaustive list of what is eligible by any means. These are kind of just some examples that are put out there. And this is found in that employer guide that was sent to you with the meeting invitation. So you can kind of read some of the definitions. You can see a lot of them have little asterisks after them to kind of be like, here's some more definitions. But I do want to point out human resources as defined. That as defined means only a USDOL registered apprenticeship is available for human resources. So that is something to keep in mind. And then we do also have kind of a little list of ineligible training. This is also in the guide, also with a lot more definitions. But some of them that we kind of see a lot of that people ask for are those like Microsoft Office courses. So anything that's like an Excel course or using Word, anything like that will not be allowed. And then also soft skills training. So if it's primarily soft skills training, that would not be allowed. And then we do have kind of a list of what those soft skills are. But one thing to note with soft skills is that a lot of these soft skills are built into other trainings. So especially when you look at like teamwork and team building and, adapting to change, things like that maybe is a component in a leadership training that you're maybe interested in sending someone to. But as long as they're as part of another course, soft skills would be allowed as a component of another course. You just can't send someone to a course that is only soft skills, as important as they are. But if you have questions on your individual trainings, that would be where we'd be able to kind of help you narrow down what would and would not be eligible. The second type of training is that on-the-job training that we mentioned. And this on-the-job training is only for your new hires. And so this is the people that you are hiring kind of that 30 days prior to or during your award. And this is training that will take place at the workplace. So it's really what it says. They will be on the job. They will be learning that position in the position. And it should not be used for low wage, high turnover occupations. As mentioned, this is really geared towards those high skilled, kind of in demand fields. And that 90-day retention that I mentioned begins at the completion of your training. So the timeline for your training will kind of depend on their individual wage. But if you're looking at maybe 100 hours of training, so you would hire them on October or January 1st, you would complete that 100 hours of training. After that 100 hours is when that 90-day retention would begin. And so if they make it that full 90 days, that's ideal. That's when you would get 100% of that training funds back. But if they are separated for any reason, whether that's them, that's you, any reason, there is kind of a prorated scale. So if they make it 30 days, they can get 50%. If they make it 60 days, they can get 75%. And then as mentioned, that full 100% is earned at 90 days. And then kind of our third type of training are our apprentices. And when we talk about apprentices for Going Pro, we are talking about US DOL registered apprentices. So these are not kind of your in-house informal apprentices. These are ones that are registered with the state and with the Department of Labor. And we will require that documentation, either a 671 form or a Rapids printout for these. But these are kind of the golden child of Going Pro, to be safe, because they are eligible for all different types of funding. So they can get the classroom funding, and they can get the OJT funding, and they can get the OJT funding any year of their program. So they do not have to be a new hire to receive that on-the-job training funding like your standard employees. So that kind of gives you a little bit of an advantage. And another reason why an apprenticeship program really is kind of a really good idea if that is a good fit for your program. So with the funds, and we've talked about the different types of trainings, here's kind of how the reimbursement or what this reimbursement covers. And really, it's just the actual cost for those trainings or the wages of your on-the-job training. So if your course costs $1,000, you will be reimbursed $1,000. For the wage reimbursement, the $2,000, they can get reimbursed $2,000. And then you kind of have a combination of both of them. So you, especially for your apprentices, maybe you're sending them to one class, but then on the job training, you can have a combination thereof. The reimbursement does not cover things, however, like a purchasing of tools, any licensing or testing fees, cost of curriculum development, travel costs, online training subscriptions, and then they did kind of specify under the purchase of tools that also includes equipment rental. What can be covered, however, is your like books and your lab fees. If you are taking a college course that requires those, you can have those reimbursed as part of Going Pro. So one thing we haven't mentioned is how much you can get back. And for your standard non-apprentice employees, that is $2,000 per trainee. So that can be classroom training up to $2,000, on the job training up to $2,000. That's basically the cap. For your USDOL registered apprentices, you get a little bit of more. That is up to $3,500 per trainee. And then if you have new hires who fall under those targeted incentives, kind of the ones that we mentioned earlier, they can get an extra $500. Again, this is only for your new hires, but if you hire someone who is a veteran, an active military reservist, an older worker, a returning citizen, individual with a disability, or a public assistant recipient, you can get an extra $500 reimbursed for them. That only is one category. If they qualify for multiple, it does not stack. So if you hire an older veteran, you still only get $500. But the other one is a high school diploma or equivalency program. This is available for new hires and incumbent workers, but it must be something where they're completing their high school diploma or equivalency while on work hours. But you would be eligible for an extra $1,000 for them. And then kind of the last thing I want to cover here is what your role in this is. So this is kind of the employee responsibilities. So again, you must be actively involved in the planning and design of the training project. And it should be realistic. We want to kind of look at what you can accomplish in a year while still meeting your production or other business needs. We will follow up with you to make sure that to assist in implementing the plan, but really this is going to fall on you to make sure that you're getting courses scheduled and people are taking the training that they need to take. It should not be utilized for low wage, high turnover occupations. We want the training to lead to higher skills and ultimately higher wages. There is a contractor training agreement that will be signed with us that outlines these roles. There is an impact story that will be completed upon the that will be completed upon completion of your training. This is an online form that kind of goes over, did this program help your business? Any feedback you have, all of that. We ask that you commit to retain your employees at the completion of the training. You're going to invest a lot of time and effort into them, so you're probably going to want to retain them as well. We will collect wage information, and this will be the post-training and 6 months post-training. So we will follow up with you quite a bit. There is documentation that will be required to receive that reimbursement. And then there is what we call the employer contribution. So this is kind of anything that you are going to spend as a company that is above and beyond what is being reimbursed. So things like wages paid during training, things like that. If you have a current 2025 award, we will work with you to close that prior year award out before we can start funding that new award. And then again, we ask that you commit to using Michigan Works and our Pure Michigan Talent Connect to recruit for those talent for those open positions. So we're going to pause here. That's kind of the highlights of the program. Definitely did not go into full detail on most of that, but do we have any questions? Doesn't seem like it. So I'm going to go ahead and I am going to turn this over to Andrea, who is going to kind of go over the application and where we're going now that we know what the program is.
Thank you, Linda. Yes, absolutely. So I'm going to go over what the application process would look like for you in order to apply for the award. So if you're interested in continuing with the Going Pro Talent Fund, you're going to be conducting a fact-finding session with your business service representative in your area. Once you meet with them, they're going to kind of discuss your business needs and training needs just to ensure that this program is a good fit for you. If that's mutually decided upon, they are going to send you a link to an online application. And it is an application that you, the employer, are going to be completing online. So the application period actually opens on October the 1st, so coming up pretty soon. Again, and that's for you, the employer, to complete online. But although you're completing it online, you do have the support from your business service representatives and your SEMCA team here to help you kind of walk through it. So just so you know, if you have any questions or concerns, because we do know the application process online can be a bit confusing, especially if you are brand new, we are here to help support you in completing that. Again, it opens on October 1st and it closes on October 17th at basically 4:59 p.m. The state is very clear with their deadline, and they do not allow any exceptions to that rule. So we highly suggest starting your application earlier rather than later. So if you do need help troubleshooting, we are able to assist in a timely manner. The training period is going to be from January 1st of 2026 through December 31st of 2026. So after you submit your application online, the state is going to review and score all your applications until the funds are exhausted. So what that means is when you do the application, there are certain points that you get, and it's out of 50. And the state will basically take the highest scores to the lowest scores and start kind of going down the line, starting at the highest and giving out those awards until funds are exhausted. So just so you know, the completion of an application does not guarantee funding. And this is a statewide competitive grant, so you are competing with employers all across the state, so from Monroe County all the way up to the UP. Go over that scoring criteria because that is how you are awarded on this application. So there is a tiered scoring for the dollar amount requested, so you actually do get points based off of the dollar amounts that you want. Just so you're aware, all of what I'm about to outline on here is in your employer guide, and it's more in depth and has a lot of definitions and gives examples. So please know this is just going to be a brief overview. But if you go from $0 up to 60,000, that's 4 points, up to 120 is 3 points, up to 180 is 2 points, and 220 is 1 point. Anything above 220,000 is 0. We do have plenty of large awards here. Just know that you just don't receive the points for it. If your application includes training directly related to the infrastructure, EV, mobility, or any of those related infrastructures, you do get points. If you haven't received an award from 2024 to 2025, you receive points for that. Same with your high priority sectors. If you read below, there is all of the examples of what these high priority sectors are. And if you're in one of those, you do receive points. Same with business ownership and the geographically disadvantaged business enterprise. So these are things like having a minority-owned business, women-owned business, etc. If you do have a USDOL registered apprenticeship program, Linda kind of talked about how these are like kind of the golden child, if you will, of the application. So if you do have those, you do receive points. Same if you do college credit or even just a partnership with a community college, university, or college. We are aware that some of those courses, especially in workforce development, they don't really get college credit per se, but you are partnering with a school, so you receive points for that. And same for the third-party training providers. There's a definition in your guide, but just kind of think of if the training is accredited by another party, that's typically what that third party is when we're talking about providers. And I do want to outline the median wage. It's really important. I did put a little asterisk there because it did go from 11 to 9 points this application cycle, so it did go down a bit. But what this is saying is your hourly median wage must be equal to or above our regional median wage no later than 90 days post the training completion. And we will have to get verification from your award in order to ensure that you did meet that if you do put that on your application. This year, they also did include tips and other kind of related dollar amounts that could maybe potentially for an employee that has a lower hourly wage. If they do receive these kind of wages and kind of bumps up to median wage, they have included that as well. And it's really important with the median wage that it receives a lot of points, and we're going to kind of go why a little bit further into detail. But it has a lot of points, and we will be asking for the verification on that. So the other scoring criteria as well is if you have trainings that are receiving a certification or a licensure. These are different than certificates of completion. Most of what we get is just you do a training and they give you a certificate saying you completed the course. But a certifications or licensure kind of takes it one level above. You typically have to complete a state exam or an industry recognized exam, or you're licensed for a certain amount of time, and you have to, potentially later on down the line do some courses to keep your licensure. So these are what we're talking about. But if you have those on your application, you do get points. Same for training applicable to creating or preserving affordable housing, increasing household access to high-speed internet. Again, this is all detailed in your employer guidance. That's exactly how many points are associated with that. So please ensure that you look at that before your application to really kind of strategize with your application. So as you can imagine, there are going to be some tiebreaker points. Just so you know, we never know what the point is in order to get awarded. We do get asked that quite often, and there really is no magic number. It really is just starting from the highest to lowest and going until funds run out, and whatever that application score is. So there are some tiebreakers because what if you have multiple employers that have the same points and not enough funding? So then you get to these tiebreakers. So if you have fewer than 100 employees, 50% or more a new hire, funding request is no more than $60,000, or you have USDO registered apprenticeships. Just so you know, these are kind of items that the state has in order to kind of do those tiebreakers to see who gets the final dollar amounts of the awards. Okay, so hopefully that kind of helped with how the scoring works. Again, it's out of 50 points. So let's kind of go over the rule clarifications and updates that they have. So due to the competitive nature of the program, you have to deobligate funding linked to the initial application score if the funding is not being expended for the original pledged intent and or a major scoring criteria component is not met or improved. So basically, again, this is a highly competitive award and you're awarded based off of the points. These points are what gets you the funding. So therefore, the state is trying to ensure that you're actually doing the courses that you put on your plan, right? So these are with the community colleges, universities, or third parties. If you have USDO registered apprenticeship, earning a certification or license, or a regional median wage. So if you don't, for example, do a college course and you said you were going to, and let's pretend that was for like $500. If you don't do a college course or substitute with another college course, we have to deobligate that $500. You can't use that for another training on your plan. What's different is going to be with the regional median wage, because if you do not meet that no later than 90 days post the training completion, we have to rescind your entire award. So that means you wouldn't get any dollars for any of the trainings that you have on your plan. Due to that, ourselves and other Michigan Work agencies were not doing the reimbursements for your trainings until you are completed with all of your trainings or by that December 31st date, whichever comes first. We would not want to have to ask for those funds back from your company. So because of that, we are kind of wait until we get the verification for the regional median wage if you say that you're going to meet that on your award. Something that was due in 25 is that you must submit an application for each physical location of your company. So let's pretend you have one in Livonia and maybe one in Monroe. You would have to do 2 separate applications, though it's the same company. Yes, that does technically mean the 2 companies are competing against each other, but you do have to do one per each physical location. Okay, that was a little bit of details about the application process. Did we have any questions so far? I'm doing a good job, or it's a good Friday. So let's keep moving on. Alrighty, so this is what the actual application looks like itself. So again, after you meet with your BSR and you've determined that this is a good program for you, they're going to send you an online link to what we call WeBlooms, and this is the application process here. So if you hear me say WeBlooms throughout the presentation, just know it's this application process right here. So you're going to go ahead and sign in if you've already completed applications in the past, or if you're new, it's really hard to see, but in that blue box on the bottom, it does have to sign up for one. Thank you, Linda. So you're just going to go ahead and register as a new register. You're going to put your general information here. Once you complete that, you're going to see this little box here that says to do a new authorization request. So you're going to go ahead and click that to begin your application process. So once you go into here, you're going to be putting in your general information here, but I do want to highlight step 4, the doing business as. Just know that this is the, when awards are announced, it's what's on this line that's going to matter. So some people just put the city for whatever reason, like Livonia, Plymouth, Canton, Monroe. But you really need to put the name of your company here. If not, it would be a little harder to determine if you were awarded or not. So you're going to complete this all, but I do want to highlight step 7 here. Even if you have done an application in the past, you're always going to put new here. Please do not put existing. If you put existing, you're going to have to resubmit the whole application. It doesn't save, so you have to do a new application, again, regardless if you've done this other times before. On step 8, the Michigan Works agency you're working with, that's us here at SEMCA. We do have a Michigan Works Southeast, and we do get confused with them a lot, but we are the Southeast Michigan Community Alliance. So please make sure you hit SEMCA. And the Michigan Works representative here, that's going to be your business service representative on step 9. It's okay if you don't know who they are yet. Once you complete the feedback form, and if you're interested, we are going to let the BSRs have that information. They're going to contact you. So again, this is going to just be some general information that you're putting for your company here. And then you get to this tax obligations. Please know if you do have a tax obligation, it doesn't bar you from applying. Please apply, but just know that you will have to take care of that tax obligation within a specified time frame. And for your primary contact here, please make sure you're putting the person that is going to be doing the work of the Going Pro from your company. We get plenty of people that put like presidents or CEOs or directors, and they're not the ones that are actually going to be submitting the work. So whoever is going to be on the account for Going Pro, please make sure to have them as that primary contact. The training information is always going to be the beginning and start date of the cycle. So that's going to be January 1st to December 31st of 2026, regardless if you begin training in January. Okay, so that was just kind of beginning portion of the application. Do we have any questions so far? No? Okay, so I did put in the chat a Weebloom's video tutorial. Just so you know, Leo, they did have an example of how to go through a whole application from start to finish on all these slides and kind of what I'm representing. So please know if you're a bit confused and you're more of a visual learner like myself, please feel free to look at that video. And again, you do have the support of the SEMCA team and your business service representatives while you're completing your application. So the first thing that you're going to do is create that training plan. So you're going to be putting in the different training providers that you're going to be using, course names, cost of the employees, if they're new employees or current employees or apprenticeships. These are all the information you're going to need before you can start submitting your application online. In order to help you complete that, there is an updated version of our training plan. So if you're new, this was completely redone. It was in your emails, and we've kind of added on the right-hand side, it tallies the numbers for you. So when you're submitting in your application, we're trying to make it as easy as possible. So hopefully if you complete this training plan, it has all the numbers that you're going to need to put in this application. And it also does give you kind of error messages. So it'll go red if you've been over your $2,000 limit for an employee or $3,500, things like that. It does kind of walk you through that process there. And if you complete this, it helps Linda and I troubleshoot where you're at in your application for any errors. It does kind of smoothen that process. So if you have this training plan, we highly, highly suggest completing this before you begin your application. So the first part is you're going to be putting in the type of your training provider, and you can see on the right-hand side, it's a drop-down box. So you're going to select one of these. Please know and kind of look at the guide. Some could be tied to points, again, with like those colleges and things like that. You're going to put the training provider name, where they're located in the city and state, and you're going to do that as many times as you need by doing that green add training provider. So if you have 10 training providers, 10 different times you're putting in this information. Once you're done inputting that all, you're going to save and continue. Once you save and continue, at the very top, it's going to do a drop down of all the training providers that you just put in for that last step. You're also going to be putting in the training course name. We do ask, please don't use abbreviations. We try really hard to figure out with which industry the abbreviations stand for, and we're really trying to make sure that they're eligible, and it does help us if you do kind of spell out the whole name of the course name. Then you're going to be doing training type. It's kind of located on that right-hand side again. It's typically classroom or classroom training, OJT, USDOL. Again, it's just a drop box. Then your credential earned. Really important on the right-hand side that some of these are tied to points. So like college credits, certifications, licensures, things like that. And please know anything with points, we are going to ask for verification from your company. So that is something to be mindful of. So then you're going to finish out the rest of the information, and it's typically like, you know, how many new hires, how many current employees. And the last one is the training cost per person. Be mindful, and it has it there on the right-hand side, that this is the amount that Going Pro is going to be reimbursing. And we mention that because we do know there are some costly trainings out there that are above, let's say, $2,000 per person. So if a training is $3,000 and you can only do $2,000, you're just putting $2,000 on here. Again, it's what you're requesting from Going Pro. And then when you're done, you're going to save and continue, and you're going to this trainee counts. So with these training counts, are really just kind of going through the employees, and you're going to be putting that information there. Again, if you complete that training plan, highly important that this is kind of where we can really help troubleshoot some of the areas there. And then it does ask for the average hourly wage of the employee. And that's just the employees that are doing Going Pro. So this isn't your whole company in its entirety, especially if you have a very large company. It's just the population that's going to be going through Going Pro. Once you're done, you're going to save and continue and go to these reimbursement details. So in this section, they're just kind of grouping them based off of the dollar amount that they're requesting for each type of trainee. So you just select the training type, select if they're apprenticeship or not an apprenticeship, if they're current or new employee, how many people, and the dollar amount associated. For example, if you had 10 current employees and 2 new employees that are getting $2,000 worth, you're going to put that information for the reimbursement amount and add reimbursement. And you're going to do that again on your training plan. It has all those dollar amounts calculated for you. So you can just go down the line and count how many are on there. And when you're done, you're going to save and continue. And then you get to this training cost. So if you did that last step correctly, these numbers should match. If they don't match, this is typically where people panic and call us. No problem. Again, if you have that training plan completed, we can easily walk you through that process. If not, we can. It's just going to take us a bit longer. So after that, you're going to put in the total projected employer contribution amount. So this is the dollars that Going Pro actually can't reimburse, and you do have some examples here at the bottom and bullet point there. I'm not going to go through each of them, but just please know that this is your opportunity to show how much you're going to be spending on these employees. So again, in my previous example, if a training is really $3,000 and you're only getting $2,000, you're going to put $1,000 for each employee because you're the employer still paying that, and it just shows how much are you contributing to your employees. Any question on that? Okay, well, we are just going to cruise right along. So if you are awarded, you are going to do a separate training with us again, but I'm going to go over what this would look like if you are awarded when you complete your training. Again, this is a reimbursement program. So each time your training is completed, each month, Linda and I are going to reach out to the primary contact and ask for the documents. So it's just going to be a company invoice from the training provider. Obviously, we need to have verification of the dollar amounts from the provider. A training completion for each trainee that did the, training. And there's examples there at the bottom, like course grades for the college credits, certificates of completion, things like that. Then you need a company invoice to SEMCA. So I like to think of our fiscal departments need to talk, and they do that through invoices. So you're going to invoice us the dollar amount for each training, and our fiscal department is going to be reimbursing that for you. Linda and I will send a payment request form that just needs to be signed. And last but not least, when you're done with every single training on your plan, and whether that's done in the first couple of months or all the way through December 31st, we're going to get a verification form that goes over wages. So please know in this program, we are going to ask for wages for your employees that are doing the trainings. So for the on-the-job trainings for your new hires or the USDO registered apprentices, we still need that company invoice. Again, fiscal departments with the invoicing needing to talk. The payment request that Linda and I complete for you and that you sign. And we need a company payroll register, and this has to be from a query or a payroll system. Screenshots are okay too, but it can't just be like an Excel sheet that you send to us with the list of everybody. It needs to be from your actual payroll system. And it has to show all of the bullet points on here, including the date that the information is pulled. And this is what we're going to need for, again, every apprenticeship or new employee for on-the-job training. So at the very end, you've completed all your trainings, you've received the reimbursements at the very end. Now we have the impact story. So these are really important, especially with the changing economy. And as you guys may be aware of right now with the state budget, these impact stories really help showcase this program to hopefully continue to get state funding. So there's just kind of some examples that can be included in your impact stories, but please know that they're very important. It does highlight, the need that you employers have for this amazing program, or it can be used to, showcase some of the flaws and how can we make this a better program for everybody. It's submitted online. It's very easy to do. And again, you do that at the very, very end of the full award. So that kind of is the application if you're awarded, and how do we do reimbursements on our end. Again, there is another session where we go over this a lot more in depth if you are awarded. So these are the next steps from today. So we did have that feedback form in the chat a couple times. If you can, please make sure to complete that. That is what gets you started on this whole process. That's what gets you in touch with your business service representative and how you can get that online link for the application itself. So after you are meeting with them and do the fact-finding session, if you figure out that the funding is appropriate for you, they send that link, and you do have the support from them and us at SEMCA to help you with that application. If you are awarded funding, you're going to be notified via email and required to attend that post-award session that I've been talking about. This is where you're going to review the reimbursement process and the training agreement. Training can start on or after the designated start date once your training agreement is signed. So even if it's in January and you didn't get your agreement signed, you would have to wait. If you're not awarded or if you're unsure of your training needs at that time, that's okay. There should be another application cycle offered in spring of 2026. But just please know that you can only receive one award per fiscal year. So if you do get the award in this one for FY26 cycle 1, you cannot get it for cycle 2 of 26. You would have to wait until 2027. The application period, again, is going to tentatively start on October 1st with a training period of January 1st, 2026 through December 31st of 2026. Any questions on that and what your next steps entail? Okay, well, I'm going to give you back time on your Friday. This is all the information in order to get a hold of us. We highly suggest using our inbox at Going Pro at SEMCA. The key contact, Trevor, and then myself and Linda, we all have access to this. So in case somebody's out, we all can get to you in a timely manner. But you do have all of our information on here. We definitely hope you learned a little bit about Going Pro, and we hope to see you guys complete those feedback forms and to get started with our October 1st start date. Thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of your Friday.